So the last time we were together, we talked about the false gods and the idols that we worship. And we said that everybody's worshiping something. Worshiping nothing is just not an option. And we looked at Nacho Libre, who wanted to be a luchador. And he actually saw people worshiping the luchadors. He saw people throwing daisies at them and giving them goodies. That's all part of worship. And really, what we sacrifice for and what we pursue, those are what we're worshiping. Jesus told us that the most important commandment in the whole Bible is to love the Lord your God with all your passion and prayer and intelligence. And we talked about how do we do that and how do we get more of God in our life. And we said that we get more of God in our life by getting rid of the junk, making room for God, and getting rid of the junk or the rocks or the sin in our life.
God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life.
Excuse me, son.
Yeah,
What have you got there?
got some birds, some wild birds.
Really?
Yeah,
Where'd you get them?
got them in the field over there. There's a field with wild birds.
Huh.
Yeah,
Well, if you don't mind my asking, what are you going to do with them?
I want to play games with them.
Games?
Yeah, I can play games with wild birds, yeah.
What kind of games?
Sometimes I like to poke a stick in there, and they'll be like going, caw, 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 like that, And then sometimes I like to rattle the cage, and they think it's an earthquake, and they love that.
What happens to them after you're done playing games with them?
Usually I feed them my cat. Yeah, my cat likes wild birds.
I tell you what, I am fond of wild birds.
You are?
Yeah, let me buy them from you.
You want to buy my wild birds?
Yeah.
They're no good for nothing. They can't do no tricks or nothing. And when you open this gate, they're just going to fly away.
How much?
You're serious?
I'm very serious.
$5.
All right.
$10.
Okay.
$20.
They're wild birds.
They're exotic birds.
You found them in a field.
An exotic field.
All right. That's all I got.
See you looking at the cage.
Yeah. What do you got in there?
You know what's in there.
Mankind.
Found them in the garden. The funny thing is, they put themselves in that cage. I had nothing to do with it.
So what's your plans with them?
I'm gonna play games with them.
Games. What kind of games?
All kinds of games. I'm gonna put games into their life that they think is gonna bring them so much pleasure. Then I'm gonna turn the world upside down. I'm gonna make right seem wrong and wrong seem right.
And then?
They'll be damned for all eternity.
My father and I, we're very fond of mankind.
I know.
We want them to have access to us. So I'm going to pay for their freedom.
You want these humans.
Yeah.
You know they've promised you everything before. They're gonna turn their backs on you.
Some will, and some won't.
You're serious.
Oh, I'm very serious.
It'll cost you your tears,
I know.
your blood.
Yeah,
It'll cost you your life.
I know.
You're willing to give your life.
I'm willing to give what it takes.
This reminds us about what Jesus did for us on the cross. He picked up that wooden cross and carried it to Mount Calvary because he loved you and me.
So an interesting question to think about is just this. Can God be loving and be jealous? Can God be loving and be jealous? And those two, loving and jealous, they don't seem to fit together. But the answer is yes, God is both loving and jealous. In fact, the Bible says that. In Exodus chapter 34, verse 14, it says this. It says, "You must worship no other gods, for the Lord, whose very name is jealous, is a God who is jealous about his relationship with you." So God is not jealous of us. He's not jealous in wanting, oh, that Under Armour shirt you have on, I want that. I'm jealous of that shirt, I want that shirt. He's not jealous of the vehicle that you drive. He's not jealous of your stunning good looks. Okay? He's not jealous of us. He is jealous for us. God is jealous for us. He wants to be in a relationship with us. He wants to be us to be exclusively, completely committed to Him. He is jealous for your heart. He is jealous because He loves you. And this is why God hates it when we worship idols. He hates idolatry. He doesn't want to share us with any other God. And so you think about how we're in a covenant relationship with God. He loves us with an unconditional love. He doesn't want to share us with any other God, but we cheat on Him all the time. And we cheat on Him when we serve and when we worship other gods. Imagine this. Just think about this crazy scenario. You go to Minerva's. It's a Friday evening. You go to Minerva's and you see me at Minerva's, having a romantic dinner with a woman. And this woman is not my wife. It's not Jessica. And so you're like, this is quite strange. Jesse's on a date with some woman that's not Jessica. And you kind of go up and you're like, what is going on here? You talk to me and be like, hey, what's going on? Who's this? And I tell you, oh, yeah, I'm on a date. And you say, well, where's Jessica? How come you're not on a date with Jessica? How come you're on a date with this woman? And I say, well, I love Jessica. I love Jessica a lot. And I've taken Jessica on a lot of dates too. And so I just decided I'm going to take this woman on a date. I've taken Jessica on plenty of dates. I'm going to take this woman on a date. And you might think I'm crazy. You'd probably think I'm a jerk. You'd think I'm a hypocrite. And just imagine how Jessica would feel if she found out that I was on a date with this other woman. And this feeling that she would have, this hurt, this pain that she would have is the same feeling that God has when we serve and worship these idols. God wants us all to Himself. He loves us and He is jealous for us. And if Jessica found out that I went on a date with another woman, I don't think she would respond by saying, oh, that's good. I'm glad for him. I hope they had a wonderful time. She would be hurt and offended. And I would want her to be hurt and offended. If she wasn't hurt and offended and she didn't feel anger, then that would show me that she doesn't really care about our relationship, about our marriage. And this is why God makes it so clear. The first two commandments, the 10 commandments, the first two commandments, God puts it out there very clearly, saying you should have no other gods before me. That's number one. And number two is don't make any idols. God's love and God's jealousy, they go together. And this is why we are supposed to take serving idols and worshiping false gods so seriously. This is why we want to recognize in my life, am I serving false gods? Am I pursuing idols? And if I am, I need to get rid of them. I need to destroy them. I need to remove them from my life. I remember when I was in college, went to a Christian college, and during one of our chapel services, there was the speaker talked a similar message. He shared a similar message, basically talking about how we need to serve God and God alone. We can't serve these false gods. We need to get rid of the idols or get rid of the distractions that are hurting your relationship with God. And it was powerful. It was a powerful message, and it touched a lot of people, a lot of their hearts. And it was so powerful that I remember the actions that some of my friends took. There was one guy that that evening I walked out, and there was a pond in the middle of the campus, and he was taking CDs and he was just throwing them like frisbees, throwing them into the middle of the pond. And he knew, and he had felt God speaking to him and saying, you're serving these false idols. You're serving this junk garbage music. You're putting this junk in your head, and you're not worshiping me, you're not serving me. And so he wanted to get rid of that idol in his life, and so he's just chucking CDs. He's getting rid of the idols. He's chucking these CDs in the pond. There was another kid that he realized, you know what? I am serving the God of video games, and I'm spending tons of time on, this is old school, I'm spending a ton of time on my Nintendo 64. And he literally took his Nintendo 64 and was smashing it on the sidewalk. And we're talking hundreds of dollars worth of CDs, hundreds of dollars worth of this gaming system, completely destroyed. And they didn't care. They realized, you know what? My relationship with God, serving God, is more important than this junk garbage music that I listen to. Serving God is more important than me serving stupid video games. And so they wanted to remove those idols from their life, and they took that seriously. They knew that God was a jealous God, and he wanted all of them, and he didn't want to have to share them with garbage music and share them with the gaming system. They made a choice, and their choice was, you know what? I'm going to serve God. I'm going to serve God.
You've heard of the butterfly effect. A butterfly flaps its wings on the other side of the world. By the time it gets to us, it's a hurricane. It's the idea that little things can have big consequences. Now, this is especially true about the choices we make when we're young. You see, every decision ripples out into our world and our future in ways that we can't possibly imagine. And we carry them to the end of our days. The choices we're making right now can affect our long-term health, our ability to get a job, our future spouse, our kids, our grandkids, everything. What you do will always be with you. But there is one choice that towers over all the rest. Get it right, and every bad decision you've ever made can be wiped away. Get it wrong, and a lifetime of good choices will one day turn to dust. When you choose to follow the Creator, when you choose to surrender your ways to Him, when you decide to trust Him with your life, you will have figured out the one choice that really matters. You see, the beat of a butterfly's wing may or may not change the world, but the choice to follow Christ will change you and countless others forever.
So choice it's an amazing gift that God gives us. He gives us the ability to choose. He allows us to choose whether or not we're going to follow Him and we're going to worship Him, or whether or not we're just basically going to reject Him and follow our own desires and worship all these false gods and idols. And there's a story in the Old Testament where the Israelite people, they have to make a choice. Their leader is Joshua. Joshua basically, he draws a line in the sand and he tells them, you have to choose. Make a choice today. Make a choice. Listen to what he says. Joshua chapter 24, verses 14 and 15. It says this: So fear the Lord and serve Him wholeheartedly. Put away forever the idols your ancestors worshipped when they lived beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt. Serve the Lord alone. But if you refuse to serve the Lord, then choose today whom you will serve. Would you prefer the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates? Or will it be the gods of the Amorites in whose land you now live? But as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. What's interesting is that Joshua, he's actually giving the people options. He gives the people options and he tells them, here's your choices, you have to pick. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to look at some of the options that Joshua gave the people. Option number 1, he says, do you want to serve the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates? And you might be thinking, okay, first of all, I know my parents, my grandparents, I don't know anybody older than them. I don't know my ancestors. I sure don't know what religion, what church my ancestors went to. But think about it a little different way. Think about it like this. Is it possible that the false gods and the idols that we serve today are the same gods that our parents or grandparents served and worshipped? Do you serve the same gods as your parents? That's the question. That's the option. And oftentimes, whatever is important to our parents is what becomes important to us. So whatever rhythms our parents establish and what we grow up with, those are the rhythms that stick with us, and we follow them. So you have the tradition of every Friday night, you get pizza and you watch a movie. That's the rhythm your family's in. That's the tradition your family's in. And so when you grow up, chances are that you're gonna establish that same sort of tradition or rhythm, that on the weekends, on Friday night, our family, we're together, we watch a movie, we get pizza. That's just what we do. Or if your dad takes you fishing and he's taught you how to fish and you guys love fishing, and so every couple of weeks your dad takes you fishing and that's the rhythm you're in. And so you know what? When you grow up and have children, you're going to want to teach them how to fish, and you guys are going to want to go fishing together. Or every weekend, our family goes camping. It's just what we do. We have a camper. We go out to different campsites around the countryside, and we go camping. That's what we do. So guess what? Chances are, when you grow up, because your family values camping and you value camping, when you have a family, you're going to want to go camping with your family. It's just something that you're going to want to do. And our parents, they show us what is important by the way they live. Our parents show us what is important by the way they live. Our parents show us which gods they serve by the way they live. They show us which gods they're serving by the way they live. And most of the time, because you're just a part of the family, you're seeing your parents live, you're seeing the gods your parents serve by the way they live, you're just going to adapt those gods. You're going to start serving those same gods. So another example would be this. I love football. And basically, if you look at my life, you would say, I am serving the God of football. And really, what that means is I block off my whole weekend. Saturday, I just watch college football all day long. Sunday, we watch the pregame and we watch football, got the NFL ticket, watch football all day long. I am in a rec league where I play football with some other guys. Each year, I take my family on several. We got tickets that we go to Nebraska games, we go to Minnesota games, we go to Vikings games, we go down to the Chiefs. Every once in a while, we get out to Denver and go to a Broncos game. We go to games every year. It's super fun. I throw like the biggest, baddest Super Bowl party you've ever seen in your life. I have a draft party. I'm all into what's happening with free agency, and I follow my team and get updates on my phone all the time. And my entire mood is affected on whether or not my team wins or loses on Saturday or Sunday. And I'm teaching this to my boys. They're watching me. They're seeing me. They're actually participating with me. It's the rhythm that our family is in. We've dedicated weekends to football, and they like it. They like football too. 4 boys, so they grow up and they're going to the games with me. They're watching the games. They're in Pee Wee Football League. I am showing them by the way I live how I invest my time and how I invest my money and my resources and my energy, what is important to me and what is important to our family. And the statement that I am making is that the answer to that is football. And so chances are my boys, they're going to be huge football fans too, and they're probably going to serve the God of football. And they're going to grow up thinking that what is Sunday all about? Sunday is all about football. That's what Sunday's all about. And instead of setting aside a day for God, this is when we worship as a family, this is when we go to church, Sunday is set aside for football. Serving and following the gods of our parents is just natural. It just comes natural to us. We have to be aware of that. Option number 2, Joshua talks about the gods of the Amorites in whose land you now live. It's very difficult to escape our world. It's difficult to escape our culture. It's just, this is where we live. And the question is do you serve the gods of this world? Do you serve the gods of culture? And the thing is, the gods of culture, they live in plain sight. They're all around us. They're all around us. Everyone sees these gods. And since everyone sees these gods and everyone's worshiping these gods, everybody's doing it, we don't even really realize. We don't think much of it. These gods are the gods of popularity, the gods of materialism and appearance, the gods of technology, the gods of sports. And everyone's serving these gods. Everybody's doing it. Every teenager serves these gods. Everybody does it. And since everybody does it, it just seems like the normal thing to do because everybody's doing it. But God wants his kids to be different. He makes that clear in the Bible. He wants his children to be set apart. He wants his children to serve him and him alone. Romans 12:2, it says, "Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think." We can't let the world and the culture squeeze us into their mold. We are different. We are different, and we have to think different, and we have to live different. Option number 3, Joshua talks about the gods of Egypt. So the Israelite people, they used to be slaves in Egypt. They used to live in Egypt, but now they don't anymore, okay? They don't anymore. They had to decide, just like we do, we have to make the decision, are we going to worship and serve the gods of our past? We used to live in Egypt. Those are gods of the past. All the gods that they served in Egypt, the people of Egypt served, gods of the past. Am I going to serve the gods of my past? And what happens is when we form a habit, it can be hard to break. Habits are hard to break. And we can find ourselves struggling with things from our past, things that I thought I left that behind. I thought that's in the past, but it comes up and it creeps up and it starts to haunt me. There's a story told of a high school boy that is going on a date. And this is like the first date he ever gone on or went on, so he was nervous. And he goes and he picks this girl up, and he's going to her house, and he has to walk through her yard to get to the front door, obviously. And this family had dogs. And he notices, like, man, there's a lot of dog crap in the yard all over the place. He's really nervous, so he doesn't pay close enough attention to the dog poop. And he steps on it, or steps in some, but he doesn't even realize that. He knocks on the door, the mom answers the door, invites him in, he comes, sits down on the couch next to the girl. They're talking, him and the girl and the family are talking, mom and dad are talking, and he starts to notice something smells bad. And this smell is dog poop. And where is this smell coming from? And so he's like trying to smell, like leans over and smells the girl, tries to like secretly smell the girl that he's going to take out on a date. It's like, no, it's not her. And he's kind of like leaning in. Maybe it's the parents. Maybe they smell. And finally he realizes like, oh crap. He looks down at his shoe and he's got dog poop all over his shoe. And he kind of starts putting this together, thinking like, I walked from the front door through the entryway to the living room and sat on the couch. And he looks back and he sees tracks from the front door to the entryway to the living room. And he's like, I just tracked dog poo all over the house. You know, I'm thinking everybody else is smelling. Everybody else smells, but it's me. It's the junk that I had stepped in. And it's not a good way to leave a first impression. But the point of this story is this. We decide to commit our lives to Jesus. He is now in control of our lives. Pretty soon we start to smell something. And what smells is it's the junk that we brought with us. The junk that we bring with are our old habits and our old desires. We have invited God into our lives, but we're still paying attention to the old stuff. We're still wanting to serve the gods of the past. And we have to choose. Are we going to follow Jesus? Because if I'm following Jesus, I'm leaving behind all that other stuff. I'm leaving behind all the past gods that I used to worship. We can't serve and worship Jesus and these old past gods. Now finally, option number 4, the one true God. And what's cool about Joshua in this chapter is before he gave the people these different options, he gives them this basically a brief summary of the things that God has done. This is what God has done for us. He's rescued us from slavery in Egypt. He's led us through the desert. He miraculously parted the Red Sea and we walked through the Red Sea. He's destroyed our enemies. He's provided for us as we're in the desert. He's blessed us abundantly. All these different things. This is what God, the one true living God, has done. And then Joshua states in front of the whole nation, he says this, as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. Joshua makes it clear. He is not going to serve or bow down to the gods of the past, the gods of the culture, the gods of his parents. He is going to serve the living God, and he's going to set up rhythms in his life and then the life of his family so that his family serves the Lord as well. Because he knows the one true living God has already proved himself faithful. He's already rescued, he's already delivered, and he's already provided, and he's already blessed. I know that. I've seen that with my own eyes. And basically, it's almost as if Joshua was asking the people the question, what have the false gods done for you? What have the gods of the past and the gods of Egypt, your parents' gods, the gods of the culture, what have they done for you? Because the answer is nothing. The only thing they have done for you is that they've taken from you. Because that's what false gods do. They take from you. And Satan's desire is that we serve these false gods and continue to sacrifice and worship these false gods that really, in the end, they leave us disappointed, they leave us hurting, they leave us anxious, and they just take from us. This is all part of Satan's plan. All part of his plan to steal, kill, and destroy. And Satan, he's not giving up. He's not going to give up. He's going to keep on tempting us. He's going to keep on setting up these gods and idols so that we start worshiping these false gods and idols. The gods are at war for your heart. God wants your heart. He's already chosen you, and he wants you to choose him each and every day. Each choice we make throughout the day reveals the gods that we're serving. Will you serve the gods of your past, gods of your parents, the gods of the culture, or will you serve the one true living God who loves you, who wants all of you, because he is jealous for you? So, that's the lesson for tonight. Go ahead and break up into your groups. Discussion time. Next week, there's no youth group because of spring break, but there is a 3-on-3 basketball tournament next Wednesday. 3-on-3 basketball tournament next Wednesday. So get ready for that. Talk to you later.